8 minutes after 3 o'clock here on CBC Radio 1, I'm Faith Fundal. Whenever this Winnipegger and his family walk into a wrestling arena nowadays, you might hear this. The song is Rise of the Drones, and it is Winnipeg professional wrestling legend Don Callis' entrance theme music. Callis, who's as the Jackal, the Natural, and Cyrus the Virus, is one of the great heels in professional wrestling. He's here ahead of tomorrow's All-Elite Wrestling Dynamic Rampage show at Canada Life Centre. Don Callis is in studio. Welcome to the program. Hello.
Great to be here back on CBC. It's exciting.
That entrance music is pretty ominous.
Well, it's actually not music. So my original idea was, you have music, people, they like it. I don't like making people happy. So what I said is, can we please, let's have a sound effect, a low frequency droning sound that will agitate people. Because it's been proven with audio research that if you hit the right frequency, it can get people into a very uncomfortable situation even before they've heard me speak. So I'm all about making people uncomfortable. So that was why we chose that sound, not music, because I'm the only person in wrestling who doesn't have music, and I'm quite proud of that, actually.
You're also known as a heel. For folks who may not know what that means, what is a heel?
Well, in wrestling parlance, a heel would be a quote-unquote bad guy, and I'm not a heel. I am myself. I don't play a character. I play myself. My character doesn't like people, doesn't like wrestling fans, and Don Callis, the person who grew up in River Heights, doesn't like people and doesn't like wrestling fans. I much prefer the company of a dog to any human being. Human beings are weak, and I have a hard time as someone, I was cursed with a superior intellect growing up. I was admitted into Mensa at a very young age. I no longer participate in that. I was measured with an IQ of 165. That all sounds great. The problem is it's hard to have conversations with people when you've been cursed with that. My psychiatrist, when I was 14, diagnosed me as a high-functioning sociopath. I've had to live with that. People don't understand. I'm not a mean guy. I just don't understand regular human emotions.
So does it take then a lot of preparation, particularly when you're about to head into a fight?
Absolutely none.
So you just go into it as...
I go in and I say what I want to say, and I get, people say, well, you get the biggest reaction as a quote-unquote heel of anyone in wrestling and anyone in the history of AEW. What do? And this is going to sound like a very Zen Buddhist philosophy, which it is. I do nothing. I just go out there and be. Because other quote-unquote heels in this business, they get hated because of what they say and what they do. I get hate because I exist, and that's a very different level. So I never acknowledge fans. People will interact with fans when they're out there. I don't acknowledge them. I ignore them. I ignore them much in the same way that I would ignore an ant crossing the sidewalk in front of me. That's how I feel about fans.
Does it make it easier or harder for you? Or is it neither of those things?
Going out in front of people is very easy for me. It's always been very simple for me. What's hard is what I do, and I'm the only one in wrestling who does it. I am here not just to make money. I am here not for fame, certainly, because I don't like to have that level of notoriety, because then people want to interact with you. I am here to write the history of professional wrestling. The fact that the professional wrestling platform happens to be my canvas for my masterpiece is no different than an artist who's painting a work of art. It's the same thing.
Do you think Winnipeg or Manitoba has something to do with it? Because you're not the only one who has come out as a hometown wrestler, right? We talk about Roddy Piper, Chris Jericho, Kenny Omega, right? All of these folks have connections to this place. Is it because of this place?
No. The Mount Rushmore of Winnipeg wrestling is Piper, Jericho, Omega, and Don Callis. No question. Unquestioned. Jericho would tell you that it has to do with, if you grow up in Winnipeg, you grow up tough. I just think it's talent. You can't teach talent. You can't teach charisma. So when I come back here and people say, hey, you guys did this in the business, the very sad part about it is I have a 35-year friendship almost with Jericho that was blown up this year because of his own issues with himself, having to be the center of attention all the time, being an only child like I was. But I turned out pretty good. Jericho is a complete egomaniac. Kenny Omega, all that might be the best wrestler who ever lived. Kenny Omega accomplished everything in the world because of me. Since I've split up with Kenny Omega has been off the radar. Now he's going to be here tomorrow night, which I think everyone's excited about because no one's heard from him for 6 months.
What about you? Are you excited?
I'm hoping that he's finally going to apologize to me and acknowledge that, thank you for everything you gave me and every world title he ever won was because of me. I hope he says those things. But Kenny Omega's a wild card. Kenny Omega hates me. But they're bringing his family down. They're letting his parents out of the home, and they're going to let them go sit in the first row to see this. So I'm very excited about that. I'm excited that Swerve Strickland, our new world heavyweight champion, is going to be on this show. And I think that's going to be great. Chris Jericho, as you said, he's a Winnipegger. Now, you talk about Jericho and Omega being Winnipeggers. One of them grew up in St. James and one of them grew up in Transcona.
Oh, you're about to say fighting words.
Jericho grew up in St. James. I'm pretty sure he didn't live in a trailer. He probably lived in a shack out back of the trailer. Omega's parents, he was probably conceived out back of a nuclear reactor, given the way he looks. I don't know what's going on, but I grew up in River Heights, so I'm a real Winnipegger. I mean, I'm the cream of the crop. Do you know what I mean? Lettered in 5 sports at Kelvin High School. I did it all. I lectured at the University of Manitoba. You know what they do now? They hit me up for donations. Hey, you make a lot of money. Give us money. Not bad enough they took $30,000 of my money to do my MBA here. You know what I mean? So I don't mean to vent here, but, I'm not entirely happy about being back in Winnipeg. I'm happy to be here with you, but Winnipeg,
What should I tell folks if they ask, oh, so you met this person? Well,
Right.
what should I tell them?
Tell them to send their checks to Don Callis Incorporated. Listen, I long ago stopped caring what people think. You seem like a nice young man. You seem like a wonderful person, actually. You're very professional. I appreciate that. So I'm not going to sit out here and say anything bad about you. But the people in Winnipeg, I wasn't in town 5 minutes, and I had a bunch of strangers ask me for free tickets and for a loan. Oh, can you give me $20? I don't know this person. What's going on? Just because I'm from Winnipeg doesn't mean that I have something in common with everyone. So I say, don't borrow your $20 from me. Save your money. Come down to the show at the Canada Life Center. Swerve Strickland, Chris Jericho, Adam Copeland, who's coming back to Winnipeg. This is going to be an incredible show. Tony Khan, who owns AEW, does one thing better than everyone else. He puts on great professional wrestling shows, and I expect this show in Winnipeg, whether it's Kenny Omega and whatever he's going to say, whether it's Jericho, Don Callis family, it's Swerve Strickland. It's going to be fantastic.
It's nice to meet you, and I hope Winnipeg can pull you back in again.
And listen, I'm a big fan of the CBC. I used to love listening to it back in the day. And, for the few minutes that I'm here, I think I'll be tuning into the CBC for the rest of my time here. I like the intellectual discourse. I'm more a fan of that.
I'm not that smart, though, so you might
Don't
disappoint
tell people
me.
that. Never admit that.
Don, thank you. Take good care.
I'm smart enough, it's probably rubbing off on you.
Professional wrestling legend and Winnipegger Don Callis, the All Elite Wrestling Dynamite Rampage event's a good name, is at Canada Life Center tomorrow.